Good morning, everyone. It is with the greatest pleasure that we welcome our esteemed speaker, attendees, and students. Before we begin today's session, I would request all students to switch on their video camera and keep their mic on mute. Faculty members and coordinators are requested to please ensure that the student cameras are on at all times. I'm going to give you a second to switch on your camera, student. At the end of the session, we will be having a Q&A where our speaker will be happy to address student questions pertaining to today's topic. Today's session highlights how to lead your own self. Self-awareness is fundamentally more than just a tool for success for leaders. Self-awareness is empowering because it arms you with knowledge and enables you to make better choices, to change, to grow. Mr. Aditya Kalla will throw some light on embracing self-awareness and how to become a self-aware individual as well as a leader. As a part of the IBCP program, personal and professional skills is one of the core components that provides us with the skills that not only enhance our personality, but also facilitate better understanding of professional situations. We are sure today's session will help the students with an understanding of the same. To help us understand better, we have with us Mr. Aditya Kalla, certified life coach and founder, What Next IMS, MetaMind Global and Afterlife, a project that reflects his passion, aspirations, belief, and resonates with his purpose. His very first startup, CARVAAN, an event management company, conceptualized and executed over 500 successful events, even achieving Guinness Book of World Records for its clients. Mr. Aditya is constantly driven by his passion to curate impactful and memorable moments and believes firmly in exacting change. Over to you, Mr. Aditya.
Thank you so much, Dilshad. I must acknowledge you have a very pleasing voice, and thank you so much for such elaborate introduction. While listening to what you were saying, I just kind of realized that I have come a little far in my life only to be at the start point again. And that's how life is. All right. Thank you so much for it. Thank you so much. And a very good morning to each one of you. I'm very happy to be here. Really excited, though right now it might not be reflecting in the energy of my voice, but it will build. And it should rather come from you, because the sole purpose I have in being in this session is to try and impart what I have understood over these years, going through the progression of my life. And though 60 minutes or 90 minutes is too little a time to put everything across, so I decided to start and then see where we reach, and what all we can discuss and pass on to you guys. Dilshad, if you could help me with one thing. For some reason, I'm not able to see the thumbnails of all the students. So if there's something wrong I'm doing at my end.
So you want to see see all participants?
Why not? Yes, why not? It would be great.
Okay, because the thing is we are sharing the screen, right? So the
perfect.
screen
So
takes up
I think
most of
yeah, I think we can do away with sharing the screen now.
okay, but your PPT is on there. So when we move
okay,
ahead,
whenever it is needed, I'll just ask you to put that slide.
all right, all right, okay.
Perfect. All right. So this is how we Operate. Guys, can you, I think how it would work is for me to see you, you might have to unmute yourself and just wave or say hi or say good morning. If we could well do that.
Morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Ram Ram.
Hey, and you can
Morning,
call
sir.
Morning, sir.
you can call me Aditya. That's completely okay. Not done enough to be a sir. Perfect. All right. So this gives me energy. Guys, so as I was saying, the session is going to be all about learning. Learning is important. It continues all through our life. And what is very important in learning is it cannot be a one-way communication. The learning comes over an interaction. It comes over a discussion. It could be a conversation or any kind of interaction. So the only rule or request or whatever we quoted that I want to set for this session is let's be interactive. Let me share something and let me see your responses, because at the end of the day, it is not about how much I'm going to speak in this session or how the session would be valued is how much did we interact and how much together we learned out of this session. So on that note, I have already been introduced. Nothing more than that I would want to share with you guys. I have been a keen learner on my life. I'm a person who believes in basics of life. I very strongly believe that, life is all about understanding certain basic principles to operate all through our life. And if we understand them well, we open up all the possibilities and opportunities to do well in life, right? And I have lived that life. I am living that life, and that's what I would want to share with you. As we start, I would just want to ask a quick question to you guys to set the context, and you could maybe reply in the chat. See, we all have questions, and I'm sure that you've loads of them. You've loads of questions, and in today's context, we have wonderful opportunities to get answers to our questions. If I go back in time when I was in school, a very basic question. Now this is for you to visualize, because your generation comes from the age of internet. And I know it is hard to believe, but when I was in school, there was no internet, right? Today, you have Mr. Google to answer all your questions. We did not have him back then. So a very basic question, like in our times, Sachin used to be one of the greatest cricketer. He was doing wonders. And if I had to find out how many centuries Sachin has scored till day, it would be a 3-day exercise for me, a 3-day exercise, guys, right? I had to go back into the archives of newspapers or find out some magazine which would have the latest report, and then find out what is the number of centuries that Sachin has scored. Now, why am I sharing that with you? There's a reason to do that. Because today, with any of us, it's not difficult. All we need to do is go on Google and find answers to that. So the context has changed, all right? Back then, there was a scarcity of finding the answers, right? So finding the answer was a big challenge back then, but now answers are available, right? So because of loads of information around us and loads of avenue to get answers, we have a lot of questions which get answered, and we in process get more and more questions. So what I want to ask you guys here is, in your opinion, in current times, in the times that we are living in, what is more important, or rather to put it right, what is more challenging, to find the right answer or to find the right question? So if you think it is challenging to find the right answer in today's time, just type in answers. And if you feel that in today's time, it is a little difficult to find the right question, then type in questions. Just put that on the chat, and let me see. What do you guys think? Okay, Aryan says it's difficult to find the right answers. We have a couple of you guys saying that it is difficult to find questions, or rather the right questions. And somebody put something which doesn't make sense here. Okay, very right. See, I understand that, we all do understand the context that, the answers are out there. The answers are very much out there, very easily accessible. What we need to have is the right set of questions, because that is going to be defining what we do and how we achieve what we want to achieve. Talking about another very important fact. Now, when we have so much of information around us, when we have so many answers around us, we're surrounded by loads and loads of information. There's a process. So the process is, when we get this information which is around us, we tend to build opinions out of this information. These informations get into us and we tend to build some opinions around it. These opinions tend to get stronger and they become our truth. They become our reality, right? So if we could put that slide on here, if we could have a slide that we had shared, the very first one. Yeah, Dilshad, you could put the slide on.
Yes, sir. Just give us a second.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we all have a lot of information around it, and we have our facts, our reality, which we all say is our truth, is our reality. And then there is something which is laws. See, the cycle of information, and it is very important for us to understand. It is very important for us to have this perspective that it all starts with some information which gets converted into our opinions over a period of time. And then it turns out to be our reality, and it goes with the test of time, and only few of them, or rather we discover the laws around it. To give an example to this context, now this is where it gets interesting. When humans started discovering universe, with all the information that we had around, with all the theories we had around, it was first quoted that the earth is a flat surface. Are we aware of? I'm sure we are. We've read that in science. That first this was quoted, that the earth is a flat surface, and until 500 BC, it was said that earth is a flat surface. And then some gentleman called Aristotle, he came and he said, what, maybe the earth is not flat, maybe the earth is round, because we have the information to prove it, we have the data to prove it, or we have our own reasons to prove it. And then he challenged the reality of that time. And as he challenged the reality of that time, which, if you visualize, was the truth for the world, that we live on a flat surface, we live on a flat earth. But Aristotle came, and with his theories, he changed the narrative. He said, okay, what we are believing as reality may not be the reality. There is something which is beyond it. And when he challenged it, he proved it. And then the reality shifted, and suddenly everyone started believing, or everyone came closer to the truth, that the earth is not a flat surface, rather it is a round surface. But then Aristotle said, okay, earth is a round surface, but you know what? Earth is the center of universe and everything revolves around earth, right? Sun, moon, and everyone revolves around the earth. So that became the reality, that earth is round and everything revolves around the earth. And until some time ahead in the entire progression, somebody came and they proved that earth is round, but earth rather revolves around the sun. So now we have enough evidence since that time to prove that earth revolves around the sun. Now, after that, evidence to evidence, evidence to evidence, validation to validation, till we realize that this is the law of the universe. The law is that Earth revolves around the sun. And why is it a law? Because it cannot be challenged anymore. It has been proven right over the period of time. So laws and reality are different to each other. In our life, we all are surrounded with a lot of generalized opinions, which become our truth, our reality over a period of time, but they may not be the law. What is important for us is to get back to these basics, to try and reach the law which holds the right reality for us. If we consider somebody who spent his life in a coastal area around the beach, for that person, the sun will always rise from the sea. If you tell that person the sun rises from the sea or sun sets in the sea, that's going to be his reality, that's going to be his truth. If there's an individual who spent his life in mountains, for that individual, sun rises from the mountains or sun sets in the mountains. That's his reality, that's his truth, and which is not wrong. There's rather nothing wrong and rather nothing right. But that's not the universal truth. The universal truth is that sun rises from the east, because wherever we are, wherever we go, that's how it is. That's what the law of the universe is, that sun rises from the east. Why am I saying all this? I'm sure you guys already have a question in mind. Why am I saying all this, and where are you going to lead with this discussion? Or rather, it's not a discussion right now. I'm just sharing some information from my end. The idea is for all of us to understand that we need to clutter away the truths and the realities and start understanding and observing what are the laws. Because if we understand, identify the laws, whatever we plan in accordance to that is going to be in sync, and we're going to end up achieving what we want to achieve. Moving ahead, I would want to ask you guys a question. Now, as we discussed that what holds the right reality is the laws, and we need to identify the laws. I'm going to run a poll here, and the poll is going to be a very simple question. We all are a part of nature. We all are a part of universe. So I want to ask your opinion in what do you think, how does the nature operate? Can we have that poll here? In your opinion, in your belief, how does the nature operate? And as I said, there's nothing right, there's nothing wrong. We all have our realities, we all have our perceptions, we all have our truth. So I want to ask you this, and it's open for all of you to put your opinion, put your poll up. The poll is already live?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay, so how do we do this? Are we going to close the poll, or how do we get to know that we've got the responses?
So 26% say randomly and 70% say systematic.
All right, perfect. So some of you believe that nature operates randomly, and around 76% of you have a belief that nature operates systematically. Let me understand from you. You can go to your chat boxes and you could give us examples of, what around us is operating in a very systematic manner in nature. And if you believe that nature operates randomly, you could just tell us what around us is operating randomly. So I'm sure that we all understand that when we are talking about nature, we are talking about things and processes and things that happen around us, around in our universe, right? So I'll open the chat and I'm waiting your responses, guys. Samrat says education. So what do you think, Samrat? Education, though it's not a very natural process, it's a process, but does it operate systematically or randomly? Seasons, yeah.
Yes,
Isa said seasons. Very true. Very true. See, if we look at anything around us, it has a very proper system. Nothing in nature, in fact, nothing in nature operates randomly. Nature operates systematically, and that's the law. We have seasons, as Isa rightly said. Seasons follow each other, and that's the pattern every layer. Samrat says time. Very true. It's very systematic. It doesn't wait for anyone. It follows the system it operates in. And for that matter, anything in the nature, even if we are talking about the life cycle of a tree, it is very much systematic. After the seed comes the seedling, then it grows into a plant, it grows into a tree. Never in the nature it has happened in a different manner. We talk about the very daily things, sunrises, sunsets. It doesn't ever happen the other way around. So the nature understands systematic approach. Nature understands structural approach. Nature, yes. We have someone's microphone on. If we could avoid that. Okay, so if we understand the fact and if we acknowledge the fact that nature runs in a very systematic manner, give me a response, give me a thumbs up, right? And if anyone has anything to add, anything to discuss, where they feel, maybe this is where you believe that nature is acting random and not systematic, we can open a conversation here. You could write up to us, you could write up to me in chat box, or you could speak up. Yeah, right. It's a very systematic process. I mean, if we all have read how it happens, how it all starts from the ocean, goes up to the clouds, and then again comes down, pours down as rain. And it's again a very systematic process. So if you all believe, let's take a consent here. If you all believe that nature operates systematically now, as in you believe it now, nature has been operating systematically ever since. So give me a thumbs up. And I would love to have a short conversation with someone who believes or who has an opinion which is otherwise. Right. So as I rightly quoted in the start, it's supposed to be interactive unless and until we have a discussion. Trying to do. So I said that nature operates systematically. You can give me a reaction. You can give me a thumbs up or something. Perfect. If only anything say believes that, maybe it does not, you can put it on chat. Otherwise, I will presume that everyone is in sync here and we understand that nature operates in a very systematic approach, which it does. It's a universal law and we may not be able to change it. Rather, in our best interest, we have to accept it, we have to acknowledge it, we have to embrace it, and we have to be in sync with nature, with the principles or with the laws of nature. It's very important. If we be in sync with the laws of nature, whatever we intend to do, the process we pick to do that particular thing, if that process is very much in sync with the laws of nature, we will end up achieving our goals. Perfect. So, Dilshad, could you help me understand where do I, if I'm at the wrong box and not able to see their reactions?
No, sir, you will be able to see their reactions on the screen.
On the screen, so I don't have to be in the chat box, right?
No.
Perfect, perfect. Great. So what we've established till now, students, one is that, there's a difference between truth and there's a difference between laws. And nature operates in a very systematic manner with the laws of nature. We are well aware of some of them. Those great human beings have discovered the laws of nature for us. And to do anything, being a part of the nature, we have to understand, acknowledge, and adhere to the laws of nature. And only if we do that, we achieve whatever we intend to achieve in our life. Moving on to something which we are here to discuss, and which is leadership. Now, leadership is a very systematic approach as any other in our nature. So if you already believe that leadership is a systematic approach, you need to give me a thumbs up. And if you feel otherwise, you need to let me know. Do you believe that, or do you understand and acknowledge that leadership is a systematic approach, or leading is a systematic approach? There is structure to leading. It is not a random process that, if you have to be a leader, just be a leader. Or rather, if you have to be a leader, there's a structural approach to it. If you have opinions or it is a structural approach, let me know. If you think otherwise, I'm open to a discussion. Okay, so I'm supposed to believe that you all are in sync here and you all believe that leading is a systematic approach. And I would want you to give me some examples of, any process which talks about leading across or around us. While you kind of figure those examples out, let me give you a context of what leading is. Leading is getting a group of people or any particular group to achieve an objective. That is what leading essentially means. If we make a group of people work towards achieving something and we achieve it, that's what the objective is of leading is. In a very non-human context around us, I would want you to understand certain examples of leading. As I said, it's a very structural approach, a very structural approach. It's a very systematic approach. Think of a machine, because, that's what we all have been living around with. Think of any machine. A machine has various parts. And then a machine has a controller, right? You could think of it as your video games that you play. So you have a controller in hand, and that controller leads everything else in a video game, or that leads every part of a machine to ensure that the machine achieves its objective. So if you have to lead a character in a video game, or if you have to play a video game or win a video game, if you have to operate a machine, you need to ensure that you are taking the lead of the controllers of the machine. If you take the lead of the controllers of that machine, you would be able to lead the entire machine, each and every part of it. You cannot go and try controlling a part of the machine, because in that manner, you do not control the entire machine and achieve the objective. You have to figure out the controllers. Per se, if you're riding a bike, you need to control or maneuver the handle of the bike or the steering of the car. You cannot sit on an engine and make that engine work and presume that you're going to control or lead the car in a direction. What is important while you are leading is to understand that leadership has a hierarchy. If we want to lead anything, it's already being led in those parts. And then it is creating a hierarchy. If we have to lead that system, we need to understand and identify what is the top of the hierarchy, from where the rest of the machine, rest of the car, or rest of the group is being led, and you need to lead that controller. You need to identify it and you need to start leading it. If you are in sync with what I'm saying, you need to give me a thumbs up, because for me, unless and until I hear it from you, I may not be able to understand whether we together are going in the right direction. Because, for me, this session doesn't make much sense if, we are not gaining something out of it. So I need to hear from you. I need to see your reactions. Are you able to take some information out of it? Are you able to take some knowledge out of it? And any point in time, if you have a different opinion, I would welcome your conversations. I would welcome your suggestions. So coming back to what I was talking about, leadership is a systematic approach. And if we have to lead anything, we need to understand the hierarchy of leadership in that system. We need to understand where it all is starting. We need to identify the controllers, and we need to start leading the controllers. And while I say that, the second very important part in the entire process of leading is communication. Communication is something that we all have learned all through our life. We practiced it, we mastered it to a larger extent. But let's try and understand what is the basic structure of communication. I'm sure you all are aware of it. I'm sure you all know what it is. But let's take a quick look at it. Let's see how the communication per se is structured. So can we have that slide up there?
Yes, sir. Give us a second.
Sure. Right. So any communication starts with an objective. There won't be any communication if there's no objective. So what we intend to achieve out of a communication is the objective of that communication. And then there's a process. Then there's a process to achieve that objective. That objective could be a desired action that we want to happen after the process of communication is completed. Now, the process is that we have the desired action in mind. And around that desired action, whatever we want to happen, we curate a message. We curate a message talking about what is it that we want to make happen through our communication. And then comes the part where we code that message to transfer it to the receivers. So when we do this coding, it is transmitted to the receiver. And there is where the decoding of the message happens. The receiver decodes that message and it translates into a message. And then there is a resultant action. Now, if the desired action should be the resultant action, the message that is transferred needs to be the message that is received. And for this to happen, for them to be a mirror image, as you see on the screen, The desired action is somewhere the mirror image of resultant action. Message is the mirror image of message. But if this has to happen, the key lies with the coding and decoding. Now, what is this coding and decoding? The coding and decoding is the way we transfer this message across. It could be language, it could be gestures, it could be any way of communication that we understand. So what is very important here is to ensure that we are doing the right coding and right decoding to ensure that we are achieving the objective of the communication. We all understand that, but still, to give you an example, if we are trying to pass on commands to some German guy in Hindi, we'll never end up getting the desired actions. So it is very important to understand that if we have to make a communication effective, we understand, we identify the right language to code our message and to transmit our message. It's very important. A few days back, you had a session on machine language, natural machine language, which again says we surrounded with machines. And, you know, I'm sure you guys understand a lot of computers and IT. And if we are developing a program which is in a language, in some other language, maybe a JS or React Native, if you're aware of it, it is one of the computer languages in which ideally the mobile applications are built. So if we are writing a program, or we want to write a program which understands JS, React, or Native, we cannot write that in C++. We cannot write the program in C++ and believe it to operate the way we want to operate. We want it to operate. So I know we all understand that. It's a very common perspective that to deliver the right message and to ensure that the message is being comprehended in the right way, we need to go through the proper coding and decoding. It's very, very essential. So two things that I've tried to establish here. One is leadership is a systematic approach. When we intend to lead anything or anyone or a system or an organization or our own self for that matter, we need to identify what is the hierarchy of that system in terms of leadership. And to take control or to lead that entire system, who or where shall we lead? So that's the first thing. Second thing is we need to build the right set to communicate at that level so that our messages are being interpreted in the right manner. Now, let us try and connect all these dots and bring out some learning out of it. Some learning which would be practical, which we would be able to implement in our daily life, and which would help us achieve something out of this session.
Aditya, before we move ahead, just 1 second, requesting all students to kindly switch on their cameras, please, throughout the session. Faculty members and coordinators, please inform the students too. And whenever Aditya is asking any question, please make sure that you're interacting with him, reacting. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. At least I am sure of the fact that I'm audible to everyone. If we could stop the screen share, please. Perfect. So, yeah. So students, I was saying that I'm sure of the fact that I'm audible to all of you. I would love to have all your cameras on because, you know, as I initially quoted, that the only way to learn, which I understand, is to interact. I am missing your responses. I surely am. And, you know, even if what I am saying is not being translated to you guys, is or is not, you're not finding it interesting enough, please speak up. It's completely okay. The reason I'm here is to, have a communication. To, even if we discuss and learn one thing today, it's good enough for all of us. But what is important is we communicate, even if it is like, Aditya, this is not sounding interesting, uh, I'm happy to hear that, but I want to have some reaction from you guys. I want to know what you guys are up to. So can we have those video cameras on? Or yeah, I mean, we have some of them and most of them are off. Perfect. So while I give you some more time to put your video cameras on, let me get back to what I was talking about. So we're trying to put everything together. We've kind of tried to establish two facts here. One is that leadership is systematic. You need to identify the right hierarchy. You need to understand where should you lead to lead a particular system. And second, you need to have the right language to communicate with all of them. Right now, as we move ahead, and there is another question for you guys at this point in time. I would really request, or rather want, oh, now I see a lot of cameras up. Now, can we do this one thing? Come on, guys. Let's do this one thing. Let all of us unmute ourselves. I'm sure it may end up making the space a little noisy, but that's okay. We can always try and we can then kind of mute ourselves back. So go ahead and unmute yourselves.
Come on, students, unmute yourselves. Please do what he's saying.
Okay. Yes. Oh my God. So are you guys enjoying what we're doing here? You could give me gestures. I mean, is it that some part of the information or whatever I'm talking about, are you able to relate to it? Is it making any sense? Because see, it's very important for me to ensure that, the time that we are spending together is resulting into something good for both of us, right? It's not just a learning opportunity for you, it's an equal opportunity for me. I intend to learn a lot from you guys, but it's only going to happen when we start communicating, right? So you have those options to react. I know I virtual is something which does restrict, but at the same time it's a lot of fun. So you have those reaction icons which you could use. So, and I'm very okay, or rather I would love to understand where we are going. If you are in sync with what I'm saying, give me a thumbs up. Perfect. And if it is the other way around, I don't see an icon which can state that. But if you find an icon, and I'm sure you're very good with that, put me a reaction, put me how you're feeling through this session. Because we've started establishing certain concepts and certain thoughts. And this is the time where we put everything together and we bring a resultant out of it. Right? And this is the time where I actively want you guys to do something, because that's what ideally is going to summarize this session for all of us. That is what is going to make you think a little deeper. And I'm going to give you a trick, a tip, or maybe something to start with, which helps you not only to get answers to a lot of questions, but to start understanding the laws which we all need to adhere to be what we want to be. So, connecting the dots here, we all are aware of the fact that now we are aware of the fact that to lead, it is important to understand the hierarchy of that system. And secondly, the right way to communicate. to operate or lead a machine, we need to find the controllers and the right way to communicate to the machine. Now, the topic of this entire session was lead your own self. How many of us do believe that human being is the best machine ever made? How many of us do feel that? Give me a thumbs up for this as well. Do you feel that human beings are the best machines? Do you or do you not? I mean, you can raise your thumbs just like that. I can see you on the cameras. If you believe that human beings are the best machines, give me a thumbs up. Raise your thumb up there. I can see your videos. Nice. Awesome. In fact, if you are not sure about it, go ahead, do your research, and you would be amazed to find that, in fact, human beings are the best machines operating in this entire world. The power of a human mind is way beyond any of the supercomputers that have been ever built or would ever be built. Now, when we are such a powerful machine that we are as human beings, when we talk about leading our own self, we need to realize that we're talking about leading such a powerful machine, which is a human being. We all are, right? And we have been made by nature, so we have a system. We have a system as a human being, as a human body. We all have that one unified system in which a human body operates. And do we want to take control of our own self? Do we want to lead ourselves? Give me a thumbs up if we do, and give me a thumbs down if we don't. Do we all wish to lead ourselves? Give me a thumbs up if we do wish to lead ourselves, and give me a thumbs down if we do not. Come on, raise those hands. It's early morning. Do we wish to lead ourselves, guys? Amazing. Now, if we have to lead ourselves, where do we start? In our opinion, what is it that leads our entire body? You could write to me in the chat. What is it that leads our entire body, that controls our entire body? Yes, Riddhi says our brain, Arnav says mind. And yes, brain and mind. Is there anyone who has a different opinion to this? Is there anyone who thinks that no, it's not mind, it's something else that leads us? Emotions. Okay. What else? Is there anyone else who believes that it is something other than the brain or emotions? Okay. Aryan says thoughts. Is there anyone else who has a different thought, opinion, or belief on this? Or do we all think that it is either of the three? Mind, brain, which is the same thing, emotions or thoughts. Perfect. So I take that, we all are in saying that it is either of the three. Your heart, all right. Desires, maybe. Nice. So now we are talking. This is what I've been kind of waiting for last 40 minutes. I hope this came early. Perfect. So see, what we've mentioned here is mind, brain, emotions, thoughts, heart, desire, cumulative toxins. I like that. Okay. See, other than mind and heart, which has been mentioned here, if you realize that emotions, thoughts, desires, they all are a resultant of what happens in our body. So, it may be a discussion for some other time, but I'm sure you all know how the emotions are a resultant of a lot of secretions that happen in our body. The secretions which are controlled by the commands which are given by our brain or our mind. Mind and brain, again, are two different concepts, but for now, we can say that they are the same. So, Aryan says the gut as well, to a larger extent. But if we see or if we read the anatomy of our body, it is the brain which controls each of those organs. I completely understand when Aryan said heart, there's a reason to believe that. There's a reason to have that opinion that, we lead ourselves by our heart. But if you look at the anatomy of the body, and again, as I initially was quoting, there is truth, there is reality, which is our perception, then there is universal law. And the universal law is the brain or the mind controls our entire body. And, that's why I initially quoted, that's why I initially put the context that we all have our realities, we all have our truth, but then there is a universal law which cannot be changed, which needs to be accepted. And only when we have acceptance to that law, because we may counter a reality, we may challenge a reality, we may challenge a truth which has happened in past. Great people have challenged the realities of their time, the truth of their time. And what eventually happened is they reached out to the law. They reached to the law. They figured out that, okay, this reality was a perception and this is the real law. And the law with the anatomy of body is that brain controls or leads the entire body. Even if we want to believe or we have an opinion that, we control our body with the heart, even if we feel or wish to do something, at the end, it is the brain which is going to signal the command. It is the brain which is going to control the entire body, our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, our dreams, our anything that we want to do. So when it is established that it is the brain or it is the mind that leads our body, we have to understand that the only way to lead our body, to lead ourselves, to lead this amazing machine or the smartest machine ever is to lead the brain. And if we agree to that, give me a thumbs up, give me a reaction. And if we still doubt that.
Isa, Manish, sorry, Aditya. Isa, Manish, Isa, please, yeah, okay. Please, everybody, keep your cameras on. Let's interact with Aditya.
So what I was saying is, we need to lead our brain. So one thing we have established, that to lead ourselves, we need to lead our brain. And I'm sure you guys are aware of it. But all I'm doing here is I'm reflecting upon the things that you already know. Because knowing and doing are two different things. Now that we all have created this awareness or established that we understand that to lead our own selves, we need to lead our brain. What is important is to understand the right language to communicate to our brain. The best way for any communication is to be clutter-free, is to understand the right language and to avoid confusions so that the desired command or the desired action is achieved. So have you ever given it a thought that what is the right language to communicate to our brain? Or how can we even communicate to our mind? See, mind or brain is controlled by a lot of system which is already set. We never have to tell our heart to beat 72 times a minute or whatever. We never have to give the command to our kidneys to work and filter all the waste. It is all preset. But how is it preset? It is preset in the terms that our mind has already been conditioned to do all that. And we do it so very well. Just try and imagine if we had to every day tell our heart to beat every minute, our lungs to breathe every minute, or our kidneys to work, our limbs to work. How cumbersome would it have been? But how smoothly do we operate with that? Only because we have conditioned our mind to do that. Because our mind understands it. It is kind of in preset, and we achieve it so perfectly well every single time. Imagine the power we hold if we understand how to give the right set of commands to our mind. And that's what it is all about. It is all about understanding the language in which we can interact with our own mind, give it the right commands, and have the desired results. So we're going to do a very, very simple exercise here with all of you guys for you to understand how to interact with our mind. Do we understand that we all use our 5 senses to communicate? We do, right? We have a sense of speech. We have visual sense. We have the sense of smell. We have the sense of touch. So we have those 5 primary senses through which we communicate. And all the information that we have in our mind is stored in the perspective of these senses. Now let's do a quick exercise, and I want all of you to participate. And it's going to be good fun. So as I speak, or as I ask you, just close your eyes. All of you. Just close your eyes. And I'm going to speak, or I'm going to share a word with you. And you have to observe what visuals are created in your mind. What kind of sounds do you hear? And what do you feel? So just close your eyes. If some of you have not done that, it's very easy. Doesn't take much of an effort. But you're going to observe something really magical. Now close your eyes and see what you can see when I say an orange. I'm sure all of you see an orange on your mental screen, as we call it. If anyone doesn't, you should let me know. But that's not going to be the case. All of you would see that orange. It would be a 3D orange for all of you. For most of you, it will not be a 2D image. Even if it is, doesn't make a difference. But you see that orange, and you see that orange in that color of orange. You don't see a purple orange, right? But when I say purple orange, some of you would start seeing a purple orange. Some of you may also kind of feel that taste on your palate. Some of you may feel that smell of an orange. And the only reason it is happening is because you already have a visual reference in your memory around that orange. Now, you would say, Aditya, this is very basic. We know this happens. If I close my eyes and you say train, I'm going to see a train, which could be a moving or a stationary train. You say plane, I'm going to see a plane. Yes, that is how our mind is conditioned. But now is where the magic happens. I would ask you to close your eyes again. And this time around, I would say no orange. I would take your name, all of you guys. So students, do not see an orange. But I'm sure you still see an orange. If you still see an orange, give me a thumbs up. If you still see an orange while I said no oranges or don't see an orange, give me a thumbs up, guys. And I'm sure all of you did. We will do that. We cannot avoid it because we need to understand that our mind doesn't understand or doesn't interpret the word no. So this is one thing that we need to understand, or we need to establish, that whenever we talk of anything, the no does not have an interpretation in our mind. It doesn't translate to anything. And what does this mean? This means, or this validates, the statements that we hear over a period of time from our elders or anyone else, that let's not talk negative. Let's not use negative words. And what is a negative word? It starts with no or not. So if we desire to do anything in our life, we need to understand that we are not really giving any negative commands to our mind. We're not saying no. We are not saying, I may not do that. So that becomes very important. That becomes very significant for us. And I would love to hear from you, any wrong commands that we should not be giving ourselves or our minds. We are open in our chat box. If you've understood, or if you've tried doing what I wanted you to do, because I'm not able to see your cameras. So if you've tried doing what I wanted you to do, I would love to hear from you. Did you observe the fact that, our mind doesn't understand no or not?
It's not that it doesn't understand. It just like, how do you say, kind of blocks it out.
Yeah, who's that? Somebody is trying to speak. Can we? Can you come up again? Your voice is breaking.
Nalapati, did you want to say something? We couldn't hear you. Okay, all right.
Okay, he's put something in chat.
Samrat says it's not
Samrat.
that it doesn't understand, just chooses to block it or ignore it.
Yes, that's what you choose to do, right? That's what you choose to do. The way the mind operates it doesn't have an interpretation for no. It doesn't have an interpretation for not. You could well try and do that with anything else. See why this concept becomes very important. Because when we are focused to do something, when we are focused to achieve something, it becomes very important that we speak and use the right commands. There's a difference when we say, I do not want to fail and I want to succeed. It's a huge difference. In the literal sense, both may mean the same, but to your mind, they may not. Because when we say that I don't want to fail, just close your eyes and try and saying that. The picture that you get, what you see, what your mind interprets, or what your mind tries to translate is the word fail, which already has a connected information in the mind. And that is not what you want to achieve. You want to achieve the success. So always ensure that whenever we talk or whenever we intend to give any command to ourselves, we give the right command. When we want to do something or achieve something, we say that we want to succeed. And that is where it becomes very important. Any such example that comes to your mind that you kind of are thinking of, or anything that you want to share, any one of you guys. Okay. So I really want to understand from you guys. See, it's very important for me to understand that, has anything of what I've said or spoken translated to you? Have you found any relevance in what I have been speaking about? Or is it not translated to you guys? Because if you don't respond at this point in time, it is for me to understand that, you guys did not make enough out of it, or, maybe what we spoke of did not translate to you guys. We somehow are kind of getting into a conversational mode here. So I think rather than me talking about more and more things, it is time that I kind of take understanding and questions from you. And the questions could be about anything, guys. You could, anything that comes to your mind, you could ask me out. It could also be the reason why we always want to do the things we are explicitly said no for. Very right. Very right. Riddhi, yes. So, that's how it happens. If we are forced not to do something, it builds curiosity because we start thinking about it, right? It's very simple. If I have to not let a kid go and play cricket, what that kid wants to, I would, rather than saying don't play cricket, I would tell that kid, why don't you read a book? Have you read this book? But if I tell that kid, do not play cricket, I am triggering that emotion, that visual, that feeling, that desire, which is connected to the word cricket. So this is what would happen if I say, if I tell any of you, what, for lunch today, let's have a pizza. So it's gonna trigger all the emotions related to that word pizza in your mind. And you're gonna start thinking and feeling and building those emotions around it. And then it is very difficult to counter that. If I tell you that, for lunch, we're not going to have pizza, it's going to trigger the same set of emotions in you. But rather than saying that, I can always say, in lunch, let's have something else, maybe biryani. You may or may not like that, but it may not arouse the counter emotion in your mind. So Riddhi, while you said that, it was very right. Could we call it the rebellious act? It is not rebellious. How we react to it can turn out to be a rebellious reaction. But what happens is, what needs to be understood here is that whatever commands we use, whatever we speak, or whatever we tell ourselves, okay, it's not only about speaking in words. We do understand that we have an very, very intrapersonal communication with our own selves, which doesn't come out of our mind, which stays right within ourselves when we speak to ourselves. That command is something that goes directly to our mind. And you know what? It needs to be in the right language. Just try and visualize a situation. If you have to take a jump, you are somewhere, there's a puddle and you have to take a jump. And you're not sure whether you will be able to go across, or you may end up falling in the puddle. There are two approaches you can have. One, you can tell yourself, I will do it. I will do it. Or you would say, I will go across. Or other is, I will not fall. I will not fall. I will not fall. Both of them, either of them, give you different mindset, different energy. They put you in a different frame of mind. And if it is, I will not fall, I will not fall, you may end up falling in the pit, in the puddle. So what becomes important here is to understand the fact that, our mind operates in a very basic and a linear manner. So give your mind the right set of commands. Okay, we're going to be closing in a while, but there is this another beautiful thing that I want you all to do. Another observation. If you're really up for it, give me a thumbs up. What this exercise is going to help you with is, this exercise is going to help you in fighting out or in getting solutions to your own dilemmas. We all have dilemmas. There are situations in our lives when we're not understanding what is it that we really want to do. What is it that we really want to have? Or what is it that will keep us happy? And these are the kind of questions which may not get answered by people around us. We are always in the process to find answers of such questions within ourselves. And I'm sure at your age, there are lot of such questions. And, if you want to know this simple trick of how to be very certain of what should you be doing and what should you not be doing in case of a dilemma, in case of a situation where you're confused. If you want to know that, give me a thumbs up or write something in the chat, guys. If you really want to do a quick exercise around it, let me know. Because unless the only way to learn is to have a participation. Because if you don't find interest in this, I do not want to push this to you guys. If you loved what you did, if you could make some sense out of it, and if you would love to do another one to understand how to fight our own dilemmas, I would be more than happy to share it with you or make you do that. You need to tell me, are you willing to do that? Are you interested? Are you having fun in this? All right, never mind. I think maybe we keep it for some other time, some other day. I'm open to more questions. We have around 15 minutes in hand. So let's not do it on chat. Let's do it one-on-one. I would love to hear you guys. You could speak up, put your microphones on, put your cameras on, or let's have a conversation.
Aditya, they, do generally send direct messages to us also. So I'll
Okay.
pitch a few questions to you that they've been
Okay.
sending.
Okay.
Okay. So number one is self-awareness a key to self-confidence? So that's one of the many kind of questions that we've received. So this is like a generalized one as to is self-awareness a key to self-confidence? Does it give you a pathway to self-confidence?
See, there's no reason for me to say no, and there won't be any reason for you to say no either, because awareness in general is the way to confidence. If I'm aware about anything, I would be confident in that space. If I'm aware about how to play a particular video game, I would be very confident playing that. So the same principle, as I said, there are universal laws and they operate. And if we know the basics, we know everything. So self-awareness, if we are aware about ourselves, it certainly is going to mount the confidence. There's no reason it will not. In today's session, we were trying to learn about the fact, being aware of the fact about our own self, that our self is controlled by our mind, by our brain. And if we exercise control over our brain, our mind, we would exercise control over our own self and we would lead ourselves. So this is a practical validation to your question. If you are self-aware, you are more confident on yourself. And only if you're more confident on yourself, you are positive. If you're confident, you will not have doubts, you will not have uncertainties. And if you do not have uncertainties, you have focus. And if you have focus, you channelize your energies in the right direction. And if you channelize your energies in the right direction towards the positivity, you declutter the traffic around you and you achieve your objective. So yes, self-awareness is what leads to confidence. Confidence is what leads to clarity. Clarity is what leads to focus. Focus is what leads to achieving what we want to achieve. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, or rather brings another question in your mind, please put it out.
So, Aditya, the thing is, the students will be setting out, themselves in professional situations and things
Right.
like it. Another very common question that I have got from students is how can I improve my weaknesses and make them into my strengths? So, because you spoke about the mind and because you spoke about the power of mind, could you throw a little bit of light on that too?
See, it connects to the previous question, awareness, and to a lot around what we started with, the reality and perception. We need to first understand what we or the world around is quoting as our weakness. We need to identify, we need to understand, and most importantly, we need to comprehend whatever is being quoted by my own self, by your own self, or by the world around as your weakness. Is it really so? Is it really a weakness? Because just to give you all, I'm trying to give you a perspective, guys, and try and relate to it, because we all face this. And, at times it results to something which is very destructive for our confidence. And I've been through it. I've been through it for a long, long time. And that's why I understand that's a very bad space to be in when we are not confident, because we've been told that this is your weakness by ourselves or by maybe the people around us. You're not good at maths. You're not good at calculations. You're not good at this. You're not good at that. This is where you need to improve. Look at others, and and a lot of it, and a lot of it. What needs to be understood here, and I'm going to set it up as an example. We both may have iPhones, right? Because why I say iPhone, because it's said that iPhones have the best picture quality, right? And we both have iPhones, the similar hardware, and still I am able to click better pictures with that iPhone and somebody else is not able to click better pictures with that iPhone. Why? Why is it so? We both have capabilities, similar capabilities, but why is it so? Maybe the reason that the other person has not explored the right way or the right controls to click a better picture. It does not mean that that person cannot do that. So if somebody tells you that, you're not good at mathematics, or this is your weakness, XYZ, anything, you need to understand that we all humans are machines made with similar capabilities. We have similar capabilities, whether it is you, whether it is me, whether it is anybody else. And there is no reason for us to believe that we are any less or any weaker than anybody else in any perspective, in any aspect. If we believe that we have limited knowledge or limited skill set or limited expertise in doing anything in our academics, in our personal life, or in our professional life, it's just because we've not tried it enough or we've not given it enough focus. We are all meant to achieve and do whatever we believe or whatever we desire and wish to do. We all have similar capabilities. If we feel that there are certain areas which need to be improved, which are coined as our weaknesses, there is no reason we should accept it. And there is no reason we should not believe that what are being termed as our weakness today can definitely be our strengths in the coming time. All we need to do is we need to understand the systematic approach to lead our own self, to learn, practice, and bring those expertise to be stronger in those areas. Riddhi Chadda says, looking at this from a career perspective, due to geographical limitations or maybe financial issues, etc., we can't always choose the way to explore. How do you think we should proceed with that? I'm going to read it again to try and comprehend what you really want to ask me. Looking at this from a career perspective, due to geographical limitations or maybe financial issues, etc., we cannot always choose the way to explore. Or explore what? Riddhi, if you could unmute yourself and come on to a conversation.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so happy to see the first person
Okay.
talking to me. I love to talk to people.
It
Tell
was
me
a
a
very
little.
informative session, sir. Thank you for that. What I wanted to ask is, as we discussed about exploring and to practice upon certain things that we think are our weaknesses. So a lot of times, because like I said, maybe geographical issues, maybe the thing I want to practice on isn't readily available for me. Or maybe I do not have the financial capacity at this moment to continue with that. Or maybe I do not have the time. Sometimes even that happens. So how do you think we should proceed with that? Like, what are the next steps that we should be doing?
See, Riddhi, one thing that acts very important in our life and that makes some things happen and some things don't, is the priority, right? Only if we wish to do something or achieve something or have something happening around us, the only way is to prioritize it. And we need to be aware of the fact that, at times we live in two worlds. One is that we say we want to do or we wish to do, and then another one is which we believe we want to do, right? So the reason for this entire session, what I was trying to achieve is to understand the difference between the reality and the truth, the reality, truth, and the laws. For our body, the laws would be what we have communicated to our brain. Our body is a complete replica of a process of a computer. It's just that we are way, way, way better than the computers of our age. But it's a very simple process. Like a CPU would only do what commands we put through the keyboard or mouse. A CPU is never going to say that 3 plus 3 is equal to 9. How much ever you want a CPU to say that, right? Clicking on a Windows or a Chrome icon will never open Photoshop on a computer's machine. How much ever we want it to happen, right? आज तो नहीं, आज तो मैं Chrome पे click करूंगी और Photoshop खुलेगा. It will not happen because it's not meant that way. Similar way, in our mind, how our brain works, to a certain command, there is a respective response in our body, right? So whenever we hit that command, that is the response our body will give, right? So if we want to make or do something or make something happen in our life, if we prioritize it, there is a certain set of excitement that we develop in ourselves, and we make ways, we prioritize things, and our mind starts working towards it. The best part is, just like computer, you could set in the commands and then the response in the Chrome and Photoshop. If you just change that Photoshop icon to look like Chrome, next time you hit it, it is going to open Photoshop. So that's what we can do with our mind, we can do with our brain. We can program our brain. Our brain is a blank canvas. That's how we were born. And with the information that we gathered being a child and then growing up from our parents, from our school, from our peers, from our observations, we started creating a pattern in our mind, which is becoming our reality, right? And then we start operating on this because this reality becomes our belief. And that's how we react. So the idea here is to understand our belief system. And there are ways, there are practices where we can structure our belief system to achieve what we want to achieve. So I hope that this answers your question, Riddhi.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. So thank you, students, for the wonderful questions. And I hope you enjoyed the session. I would like to take this opportunity to express a heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Aditya for your time and knowledge that you've shared with all the participants present here today. This session has surely been beneficial for all of us to understand self-awareness and become the leaders that we ought to be. Thank you to all students, coordinators, and faculty members for joining us today. Have a great day ahead. Thank you very much, Aditya.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, students.